Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in again. I am Kaylee Bateman, the Managing Director, Community and Partnerships at She Can Code, and today we are discussing Jelena's journey into tech leadership, innovation, data and resilience. We're going to dive into the fascinating career of Jelena Riley, Technical Manager at Viator, a tech leader who has navigated the dynamic world of software engineering, data systems, and public-facing platforms. And we're going to chat about resilience, adaptability, and leading with purpose in the ever-evolving tech landscape. Jelena, thank you so much for coming on Spilling the Tea and having a chat.
Hi, Kelly, and thank you very much for having me.
It's nice to have you on here. Thank you for taking the time out. We'd love to get started with a bit of context about you, if that's okay, and a little bit about who you are, where you come from, and how you landed at Viator.
Sure. So I was born and raised in Serbia. It's a small country in Balkans. Lots of people, some people mix it up with Siberia sometimes, which is not slightly different from this one. I studied numerical and applied mathematics in the University of Belgrade in Serbia. So that was like a maths department. I have figured out fairly early in my life that I do want to be a software engineer. I was always curious about things like computers and programming, and just really, really curious to find out how things work behind the scenes. So this is the career I kind of chose. In short, if I was just to kind of give a brief kind of overview, I got my first job by like knocking at a software company door and asking to volunteer.
Wow.
That worked. That worked pretty well, I guess. For a couple of months, I was learning, and like then they started paying me, and this is how I became a software engineer.
Wow.
And I'm really, really like super grateful for that opportunity. And then from there, I found a job. Well, I remained there for like a few years. I was very lucky to get visibility of a company based in England. I applied, I was interviewed, I got a job, I moved here, and then stayed there for a while. This was like an investment banking company. And then during set of circumstances, I moved on to a job in Tripadvisor. I actually knew a lady who was my not Pilates, but yoga teacher. And she was working at the time at Holiday Lettings, which is a company owned by Tripadvisor as well as Viator. So Holiday Lettings was all about vacation rentals. People from England will know about it for sure. And yeah, I merged like two things I loved very much. Well, three if you like yoga, travel, and programming. So
Yeah, the stars aligned clearly there for you.
totally, like, yeah, very much so.
Out of curiosity as well, you said you chose that career path and that you always kind of wanted to do that. Was there someone in your family that was doing that, or someone at school who kind of pushed you in that direction, or was it just you'd just seen it and thought that's the career for me?
Well, it's funny to say that the answer is really no. Like the reason I went for maths is because I always found it always came easy to me, I have to admit. So that was one of the things I didn't really have to learn much at school. It was just kind of really easy. Uh, Throughout like the high school, I had some introduction to programming. I think at the time we did like BASIC. I don't know if many people know about that language. Like it was one of the first kind of procedural computer languages. I didn't really get my own personal computer until I was in my 20s, maybe. So I wasn't one of these kids that kind of grew up coding or gaming or, doing things like that. But I was just really fascinated and curious about it. So even like interesting fact, even when as I was joining university, I did want to go to a department of computer science in University of Maths in Belgrade. And I remember this is a very hard university, I have to say. Like, and for a year they were taking around 400 students, and only I think like there were like 4 departments, and they were taking like 100 people per department. And I remember I was like 125th on the list, and I came to kind of sign in kind of on the very first day. You could do it like over several days, but I sort of rushed, and I was like, I'm not going to get into a computer science department. So I signed for numerical mathematics and applied mathematics. And that was a big mistake, as I learned later, because most of those like very clever mathematical geniuses in the first 100 all went to theoretical mathematics. So I kind of lost a bit there. And the part that I found I missed later on is just kind of that basic, that foundation in computer science that
Yeah.
would have come in really handy. And that was something that I had to learn on the job later on.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
made it sort of a little bit harder for myself there, I would say. But I don't know what took me there. I was just fascinated by the fact that you can sit and write some code and that code does something and produce things and tools and visuals and, this whole new world. It's a pretty empowering profession.
Yeah, I love that. That curiosity just kind of drove you. And so you said you knocked at the door literally of a software company in Belgrade for volunteering at their company, which is, that's bold. So what motivated you to do that? And how did that early experience shape your path in software engineering? I take it you don't regret that you just, you know what, I'm just going to turn up, I'm gonna ask.
To be honest, I didn't see a different I didn't see many options at the time, and it's kind of the same today. Like either you have a diploma or you have experience, and it's always very hard to get that very first job. And I can't remember exactly how I knew about the company. It was just one of the fairly young companies that was building complete software solutions for retail banking and kind of owning um, basically providing software solutions for lots of banks in the region, so Serbia, Macedonia, and that area. So I think I emailed them first. I didn't I didn't quite knock to start with, but I thought, well, if I don't have experience, then I don't have like quite a diploma where they would welcome me with open arms. I have to try something. So I just kind of emailed them and asked, would it be okay if I volunteered? And this happened, I think, maybe like a couple of days after I graduated. I was like, okay, now it's time to get moving, right? Um, and I was incredibly lucky that like the manager who kind of welcomed me to the company and all my colleagues there. It was a really young team, incredibly helpful, incredibly friendly people. And lots of them have become like my really good friends afterwards. Some of them are still kind of the oldest friends I've got. Um, so everybody was just incredibly happy to help. It was embarrassing in a way how little I knew at the time, and great that I was so young and so kind of willing that I was not quite aware of that. And I understand that, like, for example, these days, and maybe at this age, I would feel much more self-conscious about it all. But at the time, I just really, really wanted to learn. And I think that was simply enough.
Yeah, and some companies they just want to grab hold of young people that are willing to learn, and they might not necessarily know everything that they need them to know. I think that's a worry sometimes of our community, especially when they're transitioning from one industry into another and they think, but I don't know everything. I don't know everything that's expected of me, and perhaps a company won't want to take me on. But sometimes if you're just very willing to try and you're bold enough to turn up, and if they say you don't ask, you don't get, and you turned up and asked for a role, even to volunteer, that kind of shows initiative and that you just really wanted to work in that industry. And a lot of companies, they do just grab hold of people like you and think we're going to train them up. So
This is honestly like, now that I'm kind of managing and mentoring people, this is that, and also kind of just talking to family and friends or younger people who are looking to either change the career or kind of just getting on that career path. Like I keep emphasizing how important enthusiasm is, or
yeah.
like, through interviewing processes, it's really, really incredibly important. Just that willingness to learn and ability to learn, and then you're off. Like there's nothing you can't do really.
Yes, exactly. Especially if you're very young or trying something new. There are many challenges along the way, though, which I wanted to ask you about, because you went from working as a data engineer at hedge fund to moving into software engineering at Tripadvisor. So you've made some major transitions along the way. what were the biggest challenges you faced when switching from one industry to another, and also technology stack to another?
No, absolutely. That was probably the most difficult time in my career, I have to admit. Like because at the hedge fund I worked in, at the beginning I was like working as a data researcher, so very heavily data focused, and then I moved on to like uh, building software for a trading platform. So I was for a while it was kind of actually trading, but most of my work there was technology wise, Windows based internal customers, um, and not many customers, like a very high risk systems, kind of slow release cycle. And then moving to Tripadvisor, it was a complete change. It was like Windows to web, internal customers to external, C# to Java, Microsoft SQL Server to MySQL, and then Postgres, and now like DynamoDB and whatnot. So it was a massive, massive change. And I have to say, it came at a time uh, in my life where I was having like two tiny children at home.
Yeah.
You can never sleep enough when you're in that stage. And uh, I think I've never in my life had like such a bad imposter syndrome as at that time, because I was just constantly knackered in the beginning. I just realized I was constantly aware of how much I don't know, and this was like almost starting all over again, right? Uh, just in a different set of circumstances. I was talking about how earlier I was super eager and young, and I was so full of confidence and everything, and here I was like super exhausted, and
Yeah.
like, but also really, really willing to become a part of this wonderful company. And again, I was incredibly lucky, I think, throughout my career that I always worked with incredibly supportive people. And my colleagues in Tripadvisor at the time were just amazing. Like, again, very forgiving of all the things that I didn't know. Like, I don't know, it was incredibly hard, but again, I have people to thank to. And, just kind of being, I think also from coming from the perspective of kind of knowledge is power. And I always wanted to, curious as I am, I always thought that you have to have a lot of knowledge in order to start using the tool, applying that knowledge and producing something. So accepting that you don't know everything and that you can't know everything is, if knowledge is power, accepting this is wisdom, because you just you can't possibly know everything. I mean, especially now, like I'm going to jump back like to present moment where I'm like in technical management, and you just have to delegate and rely on people so much. You're just not in control so much anymore, right? You have
Yeah.
to have like trust and trust others to deliver and to know about things you don't know about. But at the time, it was really hard, like taking it one step at a time.
Yeah.
Everything comes. I think we just, it's in human nature to be afraid of things that we don't know. But as many different philosophies and wisdom say, like, do a little every day and then you get there, right?
Yes. You know what, I can't tell you how many of our community members have said something similar about leadership, and we say it on here often: when you step into leadership, you think everybody is looking to you like you know everything and you should know everything. And actually, usually what your bosses are looking for is for you to delegate and to trust, as you just said, those people on your team, that you don't know everything, so you're going to delegate to the people that are experienced and know exactly what you're asking them to do, and you have to trust that it's going to happen. And it's a quite an unnerving time when that happens at first, where you're kind of thinking, oh gosh, I have to relinquish control of everything because I don't know everything and I can't do everything. And it can feel like quite a challenge, but building that team around you, a team that you can trust, is really important. And also, when you go through those challenges yourself, and you might find yourself at a company where you're in that phase and that life chapter that you were going through, and you're thinking, oh gosh, I just really need some sleep and I need some support and I'm trying to learn. sometimes landing at the right company can make such a difference, because if you hadn't have landed at Tripadvisor and felt supported at that time, you probably then would have had to have found the time to jump ship and go elsewhere, and having young children, that you really didn't need that at your point, with young children at home. So sometimes landing in the right company can make such a difference to the rest of your career, and can really help you. But you've been there a decade, so they did something right. So you've been with Tripadvisor now nearly a decade. And how has the technology landscape at the company evolved over the years? And what projects have you found most exciting or rewarding? You must have seen quite a change.
So there definitely has been lots of changes. I mean, TripAdvisor is a big company, and it's basically composed of its like subsidiaries. And Holiday Lettings that I joined initially was one of them, and Viator, which I moved to like a couple of years later, and incredibly strong experiences business. And I've worked on like when I moved to Viator, I moved from like I moved first to the supply side of things. This is like operators facing business. We were rebuilding like a new platform, which was really exciting. Now then later on I moved to like a traveler facing platform where we have like millions of customers visiting our site using our apps every day, like a complex system supporting all that, lots of microservices, etc. And I remember like it's really fun because I've been around for quite a long time, like almost over 9 years now. I've seen lots of changes. Like every move through the company was almost like starting a new job sometimes, like because you're dealing with different domains, sometimes different technologies, etc. And the way the technology progressed from that time I joined until now is pretty amazing. Like I remember initially we had like all of our servers on premise where we had to look after them um, within the company. Like you have to have everything sorted. You have to think about scaling, think about like disaster recovery, think about all sorts of things that cloud today just does for you. So that was like that was a massive move. Then these days we use like instead of having kind of monolithic solutions and waterfall development, we have completely moved to agile, to Kubernetes and AWS, like where just the maintenance of our systems has become so much easier, delegated to like to AWS. You can scale really easily. We moved from scheduled releases, which were like maybe a few times a week, which was still like going even further back, thinking about like how it worked in the investment banking, where you have to really thoroughly test everything and release once in a couple of months, for example. Like moving on to like several times a week was pretty amazing. And then going even further, like moving to CI/CD pipelines, where all of our services now release instantly. So every time you make a change, you trigger a pipeline, you see it straight away in production, which is incredibly rewarding. Like, and I think this is this is something that, this is simply a modern way of developing. And it has become a new norm. But thinking about this, like even 10 years ago was like, a dream. Like, then we went from like from front-end technologies, we went from using Backbone and Dust templates to very modern frameworks such as React with TypeScript. We went from using Selenium for testing to using Playwright. I mean, I think we simply keep an eye out on like what not necessarily the newest, but newest and well proven and tested and stable technologies are, and this is what we try to follow.
It's quite a shift in mindset as well to lead a team through changes like that as well, because I wanted to ask you about your approach to leadership and team development, and then your philosophy for managing a team of engineers, how you ensure they stay motivated and innovative at the same time. There's some of those shifts in technology you just mentioned there. I remember when those type of things happen, there can sometimes in the industry be like a panic of, when you said everything was on premise and then we went to the cloud. I remember when that was happening, and a lot of people that worked in tech were like, well, what am I going to look after? there's nothing on premise. What am I supposed to look after? Like, how do you manage that as a leader and kind of keep everybody motivated when big changes like that are happening, and you can look to the future and how much, more productive people are going to be, but so you're always going to get that feeling as well of there's too much change, or perhaps I'm not enjoying that as a team. How do you manage all of that?
When it comes to changes, I think we're kind of lucky that almost everyone like loves learning about new technologies and loves like jumping on the ship. And I know like when we introduced like AWS initially, I was asking the team, so who wants to do the course? And everybody wants to do the course. Like so in that sense, I've never seen any problems with kind of introducing any new stacks to the team. They were always like really curious and really willing to embrace.
Part of your culture. Yeah.
But sometimes there are different types of changes, organizational, whatever, where people really, most people don't like changes to start with. And it's always like difficult to drive to the change. But I always try to frame things in a positive way, like both for myself and for the team, and try to kind of pass that on to the team. When it comes to leadership style, it's always with empathy. It's always kind of acknowledging, hey guys, I know that this change is not, there's a change coming. So why is it good? I always think that it's really good for people to understand what are the benefits of it. So not like, hey, we're doing it this way without explanation is not going to get people on board. But if somebody's on board, then it's so much easier to kind of see that change through, right? And I think also it really depends, sometimes you have to kind of go, I think we always need to just be aware, and this is my kind of leadership style, if you like, of individuality and differences between us. Like we are all like different people. We have like work life, we have home life. We might be somebody else at home, which hopefully we're not. Like, hopefully we can bring ourselves to work fully. And this is what I'm trying to encourage always. Like, so if people do have concerns and worries, I really very much like to talk about everything openly. Sometimes like even maybe exposing yourself and showing that you're vulnerable too, like that you have concerns and things, and just building that relationship of trust. And I think that has worked so far really well.
Yeah, yeah. And you mentioned home life there as well. People do have home lives, and that can be tough to balance as well with work sometimes. But what about yourself? Balancing demanding career and family, that can be really tough. So how do you manage your time? Being a tech leader and mother, someone who you said, enjoys yoga and running. Do you have more hours in your day than I have in mine?
No, I know, I totally understand. To be fair, like I think that Viator has been incredible when it comes to supporting like a work-life balance. And even when I do like when I interview people, like I often point this out. Like not only I've been here almost 9 years, we really have like a very low turnover of people. And um, and this is why I'm still here, I guess. So we do have things like remote first and flexible working hours. So if I need to take 2 hours out of my day and take it to the dentist, I can do that. I can make up my hours whenever I can. There's lots of understanding around that. Then there are things like benefits for like lifestyle and gym memberships and all sorts of things. Like it's not easy to find a place like that. And even like things like being able to use I don't know, private health insurance, and I can talk to a GP in 20 minutes if I needed to, which saves me incredible hassle of like trying to book to get my kids to talk to someone, etc. It's almost impossible these days on NHS. I
Yeah.
genuinely like feel like privileged, like maybe almost embarrassingly privileged sometimes.
Yeah, another great actual useful benefit of a company, things that really do help you. And so as you mentioned, you've been at Viator and Tripadvisor for 9 years now. I wanted to ask you a little bit as well about, with your experience across different sectors and roles, what do you see as the next big trends in tech, and what will shape the future of software engineering and data systems? Do you have any personal goals for the next few years?
Yeah. So I think there are a couple of things when it comes to technology that we are looking into, as well as many other companies out there. And so the trends being building building very reliable and extensive customer data platforms, which means like we do work with lots and lots of external customers, and understanding, you know, not treating them all the same makes sense, because they might have different needs, different habits, they're looking for different things from our platform. So investing in that kind of customer data platform, gathering knowledge about customers and providing them like a personalized experience. I think this is something that lots of companies out there are doing, and so are we. And this is just a trend that is present in all the customer-facing businesses. And then the other thing is obviously the one that everybody is buzzing about, which is AI, right? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
and no, I don't think that it's going to take over our lives or our jobs. Like
It was on my lips to say. I was like, what do you think?
I genuinely don't think so. Like if you look back, like we don't like use horses to pull carts anymore. We have like electric vehicles that do the job for us. There's so much heavy pulling that has been done today by automations and automated processes. And when people say like, "Oh, I'm not going to have a job," I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll have a 3 days a week job, and the rest is going to be done by some machines, and we'll all
Yeah.
enjoy benefits of that, etc. So I do believe this is only a start, and we're already seeing like so many applications of like generative AI. I think it's only going to get better.
Yeah, definitely. And like we said earlier, it's one of those, things change, people don't always like change, but it's more seeing how it improves your time. It frees up your time to do other things, and to use your time in a much better way than you might have been, and going on to do other things that you never got the time to do. Um, and as a leader, it's now you framing that as well. What a lovely new challenge to throw into the mix in your job and everything else that you do
It is
at
definitely
Viator.
mind-provoking, definitely. But
Yeah.
on the personal goals kind of level, we did have a little chat about this before, but I would I feel like I've been incredibly lucky throughout my career. And I was you kind of made me look back like with this, doing this podcast, and I keep like coming up to the same conclusion. And I would really love to give back if I can and where I can, and just get more involved. And uh, especially like, we all know that women in tech is like is a big problem, and every company wants to do something about it and shift the balance and things like that. And going back to like from university days when we had, uh, I know that people are surprised when I say that at maths university, majority of students were girls, like a large majority. But then
Oh,
most of them went, as I said before, to like theoretical maths, and then ended up in like academy or teaching and things like that. Um, but we had something we ran a couple of years ago, and I'm sure we're going to run it again. We ran like a rotational program, which was basically we kind of advertised 4 job positions for people who don't have previous commercial experience in programming. They don't have computer science related diploma, but they have done a little bit of poking and coding themselves. So all they've got is like love for programming. They could come from any career, any kind of background, or any uni or no uni, whatever. So all we asked for, it was enthusiasm for programming. We have found 4 amazing candidates. One girl sadly dropped out because she was going to move from the US, so she didn't in the end. But we had 3 lovely people coming from different backgrounds for a year, incorporated in our teams. And I have to say, after that 1 year, they are all fully employed now.
oh wow.
Here that they've been with us, and one of them is on my team. And I'm so happy and proud that we've done that. I really want us to have a repeat of that. It's kind of like an obvious proof that you don't have to come from like computer science background. You just need the will and a bit of skill to start with.
Yes.
like
Yeah, love
everything.
that. There's so many ladies in our community that are thinking that they have to be a certain way. I have to have a certain background. I have to be computer science degree, and you know, if I haven't done that early in life, then I've kind of missed the boat and I can't try something new. And actually, all it takes sometimes is just rocking up to that software company's door and knocking on it and saying, hey, could you take me in? I want to try something new. And like you said there, you know, you found some brilliant people who just have that enthusiasm that, you know, money can't buy. And for them to learn and to grow with the company. And now it's retaining them, and as well, now they're in, it's making sure that they're inside a culture where people stay, which you have already said. You know, a lot of people just stay and might move around at Viator and Tripadvisor, but it's making sure that that's built into the culture as well, so people stick around. Once you've invested in them at the start, they stick around as well.
Yeah, and it's a win-win from both sides, because you get people from different backgrounds. They already have some experience in life. So that was another prerequisite, I guess, just so that they have worked in job somewhere. So
Yeah,
bringing that kind of different view uh, on things, that just kind of new ideas, new opportunities, different frame, how we look
yeah.
at it, how we look at problems, how we look at solving them. I think that's like priceless. That makes all.
Yes, definitely. Jelena, we were already out of time. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing everything about your day-to-day and your career so far. So thank you so much for coming on and having a chat with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
And for everybody listening, as always, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again next time.